SpaceX Starship, what you need to know. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning, and that is it. So good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a space day. We're going to be talking about IFT-6 and what is going to happen tomorrow when we see that launch of the integrated flight test number 6. Really exciting to see Starship launch again, and even more exciting, super heavy, coming in through the atmosphere, breaking the sound barrier, and then landing softly in the chopsticks. The salad tongs, as I call them. This will be an amazing day tomorrow. There's a bunch of things that they're going to be doing differently, a lot of tests that they're going to be doing, basically moving to that reusability. And it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. So I was reading a few articles. I wanted to also take you over to SpaceX's site. They give us a lot more information about what's going to be happening tomorrow. This way you're kind of clued in to what the excitement is all about. Now, this is going to happen right around 4 o'clock, I believe, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. I think that's when they're going to kick off their launch cycle or pre-launch coverage, and that will happen right around 4:30, I believe, Eastern Standard Time. So we will be live, all right? We will be live doing this coverage, simulcasted, and of course giving you my commentary like we did every other time since IFT-1. I really hope that you join me tomorrow, once again, for the coverage, as well as the commentary, and of course us being able to talk about it. So I want to go through an article, or just a small portion of an article, and then of course get into the SpaceX more definitive information for you, and then of course my commentary. But finally, I want to hear from you down below. What do you think about all this? In the comment area. If you don't want to put a comment because you're shy, that's fine. Go ahead and put an emoji. I'm okay with that. Doesn't matter. A rocket ship, maybe a satellite, a poop emoji, something, whatever. That makes me happy. Anyways, guys, let me pull up this picture. This right here, before I even get into this article, is just simply awesome. Look at this. So it is a pixelated banana holding a banana. But what's really cool about this picture is that the banana is actual life size. And the reason we know that is we know that each one of those heat tiles are about 6 by 4, right around there. We know a banana is right around 6 inches. That's like a meme that's been going on for many, many, many years. And if you want to measure things that are extremely big, you measure them in bananas. You know, everyone knows what a banana size is, and that's like the meme behind it. So having a pixelated banana holding an actual banana, showing, I guess, the gravitas, right? The gravity, the sheer weight of what is going on here, the heaviness of it, and the size, I think is just simply awesome. And this is the kind of stuff that SpaceX does. They do all kinds of like little things and little hidden things that just makes it fun. That's why they name their drone ships what they do. That's the reason why they changed the name of your Starlink router to Stinky when it rebooted one time. They do stuff like this just simply to be, let's say, a little bit more light. Before we get into it, I just want to say that if you enjoy the content, throw it a thumbs up. That would be very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. If you are, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Click this little notification button over here so when I go live, when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And don't forget, sharing is caring. Share with your friends, family, colleagues, Reddit, Facebook, wherever. Share the channel, share the video, share. Let's help grow this channel. Also, if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, check them out. They're free just for you being here. Go to JCristina.com/books. And if you want more SpaceX Starlink coverage, I think it's like 370 now. Yeah, like 370 videos I've put together just for you. There's a playlist right here. Don't click on it yet. Click on this when you're done watching this video, and you'll see all of the helpful how-tos, tips, tricks, what to buy, what not to buy, what to do, what not to do, and of course the why behind all of it, because this channel is always about what? The why. Not just the how, the why. Anyways, let's get into this, and then once again, I'll give you my commentary. And finally, I want to hear from you down below. It starts out by saying SpaceX is geared up to launch its next Starship test flight, IFT-6, a mission that will attempt a second catch of the world's largest rocket on Earth. Currently, SpaceX's Starship Flight 6 is scheduled to launch no earlier than Tuesday, that's tomorrow, November 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2100 Greenwich Mean Time, or GMT, from the company's starbase in Boca Chica, South Texas. This will be SpaceX's sixth test flight of Starship spacecraft and its Super Heavy booster, as well as the second attempt to catch the giant Super Heavy after a stunning launch and rocket catch last month. What I think is really interesting here is, if you remember, this test flight wasn't supposed to happen till the end of November or maybe December sometime. So this definitely got pushed forward, which is awesome. Anyways, it continues by saying SpaceX has a 30-minute window in which they can launch Flight 6 mission. This means that the Starship Flight 6 could lift off sometime between 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 21:30 GMT. Now, SpaceX gave us a whole bunch of information on what to expect for tomorrow, and I want to go through some of this because it's very interesting. You can see the iterative nature of what they're doing. They're just constantly getting better and better, and they're testing and testing, and they're pushing the limits is what they do. So, it starts out by saying the success of the first catch attempt demonstrated the design feasibility while providing valuable data to continue improving hardware and software performance. Absolutely. Hardware upgrades for this flight add additional redundancy to the booster propulsion system, increase structural strength at key areas, and shorten the timeline to offload propellants from the booster once it is caught. Because we saw at the time when it landed, there was still a lot of flames, a lot of burning going on. You need to put that out quickly. Being able to offload whatever propellants left very quickly, as well as put those flames out so you don't end up damaging anything just by burning it for no reason, is probably a good thing, and I'm sure they were working on that system also. Analogous to the fifth test flight, distinct vehicle and pad criteria must be met prior to a return and catch of the Super Heavy booster, which will require healthy systems on the booster and tower and a final manual command from the mission flight director. So there's a bunch of redundancy going on there, right? This is really important because, once again, the Super Heavy needs to be healthy, the pad needs to be healthy, and then that flight director gives that last minute go, no go as far as doing the catch. So once again, there's a lot of redundancy going on because it's pretty dangerous, right? That's the bottom line. It continues. If this command is not sent prior to the completion of the boost back burn, or if the automated health checks show unacceptable conditions with Super Heavy or the tower, the booster will default to a trajectory that takes it to a landing burn and soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. The returning booster will slow down from supersonic speed, resulting in an audible sonic boom in an area around the landing zone. Generally, the only impact to those in the surrounding area of the sonic boom is a brief thunder-like noise, with variables like weather and distance from the return site determining the magnitude experienced by the observers. So, will you hear a massive sonic boom or a little bit of some rolling thunder, let's say, in the distance? Once again, it has to do with weather and the distance you are from that landing pad. Starship's upper stage will fly the same suborbital trajectory as the previous test flight, with a splashdown targeted in the Indian Ocean. An additional objective for this flight will be the attempting of an in-space burn using a single Raptor engine, further demonstrating the capabilities required to conduct a ship deorbit burn prior to orbital missions. Very important. Several thermal protection experiments and operational changes will test the limits of Starship's capabilities and generate flight data to help with future Starship catch and reuse. The flight test will assess a new secondary thermal protection material and will have entire sections of the heat shielding tiles removed on either side of the ship in locations being studied for a catch-enabled hardware for future vehicles. Catch-enabling hardware would be those pins or the structures so that the Starship can come into the salad tongs, as I call them, or the chopsticks, and be able to be caught. So SpaceX will be assessing where they can put that catch-enabling hardware, which is very interesting. So they're going to be removing a bunch of heat tiles. We'll see how that goes. The ship will also intentionally fly at a higher angle of attack in its final phase of descent, purposefully stressing the limits of the flap control and gain data for future landing profiles. We know those flaps were a problem in a few of these missions where they were burning through. You can see the heat, the plasma almost just pouring through, but the actual skeletal structure underneath was okay, but the skin was melting off. So they're going to be testing this and seeing how they can fix it. That's basically what it translates into it. Finally, adjusting the flight's launch window to the late afternoon at Starbase will enable the Starship to re-enter over the Indian Ocean in daylight, providing better conditions for visual observation. As you remember, in the last test flight, it was dark. That's all you can see is like the landing burn of Starship and then an explosion once it went into the water, and that was it. They basically scuttled it, and that was the end of it. So, future ships, starting with IFT-7, that's the next Starship, will fly with significant upgrades, including redesigned forward flaps, larger propellant tanks, and the latest generation tiles and secondary thermal protection layers as we continue to iterate towards a fully reusable heat shield. That's what's so very important. That was one of the major problems with the space shuttle back in the day, right? The space shuttle was a really good technology, but the problem was it took 8-9 months to replace that heat shielding. That is a damn problem. Well, if they used more than 2 guys, it would have went faster, but nonetheless, replacing those tiles is an issue. So by getting it down to a science, so to speak, you'll be able to not have many of these tiles to replace, and you can reuse it over and over and over, especially now that they have that, I call it the underlayment, that goes underneath those shielding tiles, those ceramic tiles, those 4x6 tiles. They have that underlayment that when a tile comes off, they still have a protective barrier. And that protective barrier is actually designed to melt, to disintegrate, to vaporize, and while vaporizing, cooling at the same time. So it is a pretty cool technology if you think about it. Pardon the pun. So we see also that it says that the officials at Cameron County, the region of South Texas that includes SpaceX's Starbase facility, will issue a road and beach closure alert for Boca Chica for launch day, with an alternative day being November 20th. Now, this is really important because supposedly they're going to launch tomorrow on the 19th, but they have another day, which will be the 20th, the day after, to launch. So they have this 2-day window. The problem with that is when I remember, they talked about the window that was required to replace the 10 million pounds of supercooled liquid. That's the methane and the liquid oxygen. 10 million pounds is not easy to come by. So in my thought, if they were to, let's say, abort the mission when the ship is half full, well, now we have 5 million on, they have to offload and they have to make more. It probably will be able to happen the next day. But if they were to fill the ship to 100%, I don't think that they would be able to launch the next day. They would end up having to push it forward. So let's just hope it happens tomorrow and doesn't have to be pushed back into the next day on the 20th. We'll see. Once again, I will be doing coverage of this launch, IFT-6. We'll be simulcasting it from SpaceX and then giving you my commentary while this is going on so we can kind of hang out and just enjoy the experience. It's always memorable. right? Because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, last time they actually caught this rocket coming in at supersonic speeds, breaks the sound barrier, slows down, and then just very easily comes into the perfect spot to be caught by those chopsticks. Just such a structure that big to have that precision to the centimeter is just baffling to me. Absolutely amazing. Just amazing. The other thing that I find interesting here is the cadence. I think that the cadence of Starship test flights is really going to ramp up once we see Donald Trump in office and a complete, let's say, revamping of the FAA, the FCC, Fish and Wildlife, and all the rest of these regulatory bodies. I think we're going to see a lot more. The cadence, once again, is just going to exponentially explode. I think we're going to see multiple ships launching, one from Boca Chica, maybe another one from Cape Canaveral once that launch pad is done, and we're going to see those things. It's going to really ramp up quickly. That said, the reason for this, in my personal opinion, is Artemis 3. Don't forget, NASA has commissioned SpaceX for the Artemis 3 mission to actually get humans back to the moon, right? To get US people to the moon. Those astronauts are going to be on a Starship, all right? That being said, this will happen in 2026. That's when it's scheduled to happen. But interesting enough, 2026 is the launch window for Mars. So my question is, does SpaceX prioritize getting a US astronaut to the moon or a ship to Mars? Because they're both going to happen the exact same year. 2026 is the launch window, period. If SpaceX goes past the 2026 launch window, which is like a month or two, they're going to have to wait all the way to 2028. That's just how it is. It takes just under 2 years to be in that window when we can actually launch from Earth and then reach Mars when it's at its closest orbital location. So how it would work is we come off Earth and then we come and fly basically almost past Mars, and then Mars kind of swings in from behind. That's kind of how it will work, according to the diagrams that I've seen. But once again, this will happen in 2026, the same year for Artemis 3. So what do you guys think? Will Elon Musk and SpaceX prioritize Artemis 3, NASA, or will they prioritize getting to Mars? Because once again, if they miss that window to Mars, it's going to be pushed back 2 years. What do you think about that? What do you think? I personally would prioritize Artemis 3. And the reason being is I really want to see another US astronaut on the moon before China gets one of their astronauts to the moon. I think that would be great. That would be ideal. Mars, if it's pushed back 2 years, I'm okay with it. All right. I would love to see both, but I really would like to see another man on the moon because listen, when we landed on the moon the last time, I was being birthed in 1969. So I think it would be fascinating. It would be interesting to actually see that happen. Now, once again, join me tomorrow, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What is it, 2100 Greenwich Mean Time? Join me tomorrow. We'll hang out. We'll just converse. I'll do commentary. We will watch it simulcast live. And I want to hear from you down below. Once again, what do you think about all of this? Put those comments down here and we can talk about it, right? And if there's any questions that you have about this or anything that you want to talk about tomorrow on tomorrow's live broadcast, let me know in the comments here. And if I see them, I will write them down and I'll be sure to, let's say, answer your question before we even go into the questions that will be coming in through the chat. So once again, down below. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this interesting. I am stoked. I am so excited. I'm going to bring out the popcorn, I think. I don't know. I might even bring Fabiola in for this one. All right. So stay tuned. You might see Fabiola sitting next to me for tomorrow's event. Starship 6. Man, I want to see that super heavy caught in those salad tongs or the chopsticks. Again, Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyways, if you enjoyed the content, throw it a thumbs up. That's awesome. Don't forget to share this video and the channel with your friends, family, colleagues, Reddit, on Facebook, wherever. That's very, very helpful. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the many years, and my merch and my shirts and my tees and my books and everything else. Go over to JCristina.com, pick something up, help support me and my family. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.